Imagine you're running for your life, with nothing but the clothes on your back and the will to be free. The year is 1850. You've just escaped a brutal plantation, but freedom isn't a given. It's a fight, and to fight, you need weapons. But where do you get them? You can't just walk into a store. The answer is ingenuity, courage, and a deep knowledge of the land. This is the incredible untold story of how escaped slaves armed themselves for survival. Many of us picture the Underground Railroad as a secret network of safe houses, and it was. But for countless freedom seekers, the journey was a solitary, dangerous trek through dense forests, treacherous swamps, and rugged mountains. In this wilderness, they weren't just hiding. They were living, surviving, and fighting back. Their greatest resource was the nature around them, and their greatest tool was their own brilliance. Let's start with the bow and arrow, a weapon as old as humanity itself. For many enslaved people, this wasn't new technology. Remember, many Africans brought to the Americas had sophisticated knowledge of hunting and warfare from their homelands. These skills didn't just disappear. They were passed down, hidden, and preserved. When freedom was on the line, this ancestral knowledge became a lifeline. So, how do you make a bow in the middle of a forest? First, you need the right wood. Not just any branch will do. You're looking for something strong yet flexible. Hickory, Osage orange, yew, or even certain types of ash and maple were perfect. An escaped slave would know how to spot these trees, how to test a limb for its spring and strength. They would look for a straight piece of wood, free of knots and twists, at least as tall as they were. Once they found the perfect stave, the real work began. With what tools? A stolen hatchet, a sharpened piece of scrap metal, or even a hard, sharp rock. Patiently, they would shave the wood down, tapering the limbs from a thick center handle to thinner tips. This process, called tillering, is an art. Too much wood removed from one spot, and the bow snaps. Too little, and it won't bend properly. It requires an intuitive feel for the wood spirit, something you can't learn from a book. Next, the bowstring. This couldn't be just any cord. It needed to be incredibly strong and resistant to stretching. The sinew from a deer's back or leg was a prime choice. After carefully stripping it from the animal, it would be dried, then pounded, and separated into fine fibers. These fibers would then be twisted together, often with a little natural adhesive like pine sap, to create a powerful, resilient string. Other options included twisted rawhide strips, or even tough plant fibers like those from the milkweed or dogbane plant, which were used by Native Americans for centuries. Now for the arrows. A straight, lightweight shaft is key. River cane, which grows abundantly in the southern wetlands, was ideal. It's naturally straight and hollow. Young shoots from trees, like ash or dogwood, also worked well. They would be straightened over a low fire, carefully heating and bending them until they were perfectly true. The arrowhead, or point, was the business end. A simple fire-hardened tip, sharpened to a point, and then carefully charred in the embers of a fire, could be surprisingly effective for small game. But for defense or hunting larger animals, a more lethal point was needed. Sharp flakes of stone, like flint or chert, could be knapped into deadly arrowheads. This is a highly skilled process of striking one stone against another to break off sharp pieces in a controlled way. Bits of bone, sharpened to a wicked point, or even a hardened nail found along a road, could be hafted onto the arrow shaft. Finally, fletching. Feathers from a turkey, goose, or any large bird were attached to the back of the arrow. This wasn't for decoration. The feathers act like the rudder on a ship, stabilizing the arrow in flight and ensuring it flies straight and true. They were glued on with pine pitch and then wrapped securely with thin sinew or plant fiber. In a matter of days, using only what the forest provided, a freedom seeker could craft a silent, deadly, and effective weapon. It was a tool for hunting, providing much-needed food on a long journey. But it was also a weapon of defense against slave patrols and their dogs, who were a constant, terrifying threat. A volley of silent arrows from a hidden position could create confusion and buy precious time to escape. But the bow and arrow was just one tool in their arsenal. The spear was another fundamental weapon, simpler to make but no less effective. A young, straight sapling, about 6 to 7 feet long, was the starting point. The maker would strip the bark and then spend hours sharpening one end to a fine point using a knife or a sharp rock. Just like with the arrows, the tip would be fire-hardened. By holding the point in the hot embers of a fire, but not letting it burn, the wood's cellular structure changes, making it incredibly hard and durable. This simple spear was a formidable weapon in close quarters, capable of fending off an attacker or bringing down a wild hog for a crucial meal. For a more lethal spear, a stolen knife blade, a piece of sharpened steel from a broken tool, or a large stone point could be attached to the end, turning it into a truly deadly implement. And let's not forget about traps. Survival wasn't just about direct confrontation. It was about outsmarting your pursuers and the environment. Enslaved people were masters of trapping, skills often learned on the plantation itself to supplement their meager rations. These skills became critical during escape. They could build deadfall traps, where a heavy log is propped up and triggered to fall on unsuspecting game. They knew how to make snares from vines or twisted plant fibers, placed strategically on game trails to catch rabbits, squirrels, or birds. These traps worked silently, day and night, providing food without the noise of a hunt that might give away their position. This ingenuity wasn't just happening in the deep wilderness. In communities of escaped slaves, known as Maroon colonies, this weapon-making became more organized. These hidden settlements, in places like the Great Dismal Swamp of Virginia and North Carolina, or the swamps of Louisiana and Florida, were strongholds of freedom. Here, blacksmiths who had escaped with their skills would set up secret forges. Using stolen or scavenged metal, they could repair old firearms, forge knife blades, spearheads, and even crude swords. These communities became thorns in the side of the slave-holding South, staging raids on plantations to free family members and gather supplies. Their ability to arm themselves was central to their survival and resistance. The weapons they created were more than just tools of wood and stone. They were symbols of defiance. Every bow carved, every spear sharpened, was an act of rebellion. It was a declaration that they were not property, but human beings with the right to defend their lives and their freedom. It was a testament to their incredible resilience, their deep connection to the land, and their refusal to be broken. When we think about the fight against slavery, we often think of abolitionist speeches, political movements, and eventually the Civil War. But we must also remember these quiet warriors of the wilderness, the men and women who, armed with weapons born of desperation and genius, carved out their own freedom, one arrow, one spear, one day at a time. Their story is a powerful reminder that the struggle for liberation has always been fought, not just in the halls of power, but in the swamps, forests, and mountains, by ordinary people with extraordinary courage. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as powerful as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more hidden histories. Let us know in the comments what other untold stories you'd like to see us explore. See you next time.